listening to
A to the K.
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 A to the K. WrestleTalk podcast.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.
Welcome to yet another week of A to the K's WrestleTalk podcast. I am the reflection of indigestion. It's me, Anthony. And joining me, as always, I'm pointing the right way this time. I even shocked myself. It's the Heartburn Kid, Carl. Hey, Carl.
Nice. It's funny because we are old and we drink too much. That is what gets the lols. But yes, Anthony, it's that time again. It's another fun-filled week ahead with lots in store. Before all that, just a reminder. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, A to the K WrestleTalk proudly brings to you your Anchor.fm podcast champions of the world. And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you know what? We'll probably start an OnlyFans or something at some point because, you know, that's what the kids are doing these days. Get some Rikishi cosplay action going on.
That's the thing. You know. In the words of ZELINA, it's just cosplay.
It's just cosplay, yeah. That's got to be a merch opportunity at some point. But speaking of merch, you can also check us out on atothek.co.uk. We sell some merch, including the prestigious Whiskey and Wrestling t-shirts, which will be today's spoilers, segment 3. But then also, if you haven't done so already, help your brothers out and head over to YouTube and subscribe, as they would say. You know, we're not on...
as the kids say these days.
As them kids say these days. Sorry, just got a bit of heartburn coming in. Hit the subscribe button, press a bell or something. There's a bell? I don't know.
There's a bell. Because weirdly, subscribing isn't just subscribing. If you want to actually be told about the videos, you got to click that bell.
Right, okay. That seems like more of a flaw in YouTube's, algorithm or whatever. But,
No, they just want to add another step.
Just do it anyway. It's like, do that. So, anyway, if you're not down with that, then ultimately, we've got 2 words for you. Please.
So, I'll time that for you, Carl.
Thanks. Just perfect.
Now, normally, Carl, I try and pass the buck on the old headlines, but given that you've just ran through our social medias and had to do a lot of the wordy wordplay there, shall I do the headlines this week?
You, sir, are a gentleman and a scholar, and I'm just going to modify them to make you fuck up as you do it, as we go.
Oh, evil.
Just going to add shit in.
As you guys know, every week we cover This Week in Wrestling, in which we'll talk about the 4 big shows being Dynamite, NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. We talk about the Ringside Report, in which we give you all of the latest news and rumours that are in the world of wrestling today, certainly the ones we know about. And then this week, for our unique segments, we are doing another volume of Whiskey and Wrestling, but this isn't just any volume of Whiskey and Wrestling. We are joined by the one and only Tony Knox.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this will be if you haven't heard of Tony Knox, then this is an education for you. He is a very interesting man and been heavily involved in the world of the British wrestling scene, certainly for a number of years. And someone who Carl has actually worked with in the past as well, which we mentioned in the last volume of Whiskey and Wrestling, so it just seems perfectly sort of synced really to the last volume. And I don't know, it should be a very interesting conversation. So please join us for that one. But before all of that, let's talk the Ringside Report, shall we? So, coming up in the Ringside Reports, we have ZELINA VEGA being released by WWE. We have Aleister Black requesting and being denied his return to NXT. We have Chelsea Green suffering a serious injury during her SmackDown debut. We have more former WWE superstars scheduled to return at Survivor Series. We have wrestlers in general, not just WWE, but wrestlers in general may be able to join the Screen Actors Guild. We have Bruce Pritchard as being allowed to continue with third-party projects despite no one else being allowed to continue with third-party projects. We have the possibility of Jon Moxley being able to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom 15. We have speculation on Brody Lee and is he potentially injured. We have talents in AEW reportedly making more money than talents in NXT. We have the further update to our report from last week of the new AEW Games channel that came up. We now have some information on the AEW Games that are scheduled to be released. All that coming up right now. So, have I got the first one, Carl? Let's just keep on. I want to keep on talking.
Keep
So,
chatting away, flapping your gums.
now, in what seems almost like an infamous misstep from WWE, we had Zelina Vega earlier this week putting a tweet out there that simply said that she supports unionization.
Mm-hmm.
Then 15 minutes later, WWE put a tweet out there to say Zelina Vega is no longer working for the company. But now, unfortunately, Zelina Vega has been given her release from WWE. They obviously wish her the best in all her future endeavors. But the timing of this is massively suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a speculative part in that sense because a lot of people are suggesting that when she put that tweet out there, the release was already negotiated, which is likely. But even if you go, well, we already negotiated the release, the ill-timed response to her tweet is still something they've done. Let's be honest. Now, this is all spanned from people being pulled away from third-party projects. Zelina is one of the many people who were making a decent amount of money through Twitch, in all honesty. Some reports even suggest that she was making more money through her Twitch channel than she was with WWE, which is either impressive or sad, to be honest, because if WWE weren't paying her that much, that's shocking. But if they were paying her a fair bit and she was making just as much on Twitch, then, fair play to her. And other suggestions suggest that because she's now also introduced an OnlyFans, that was WWE's response to that. I don't know, but heavily speculated as to the reasoning, but it seems likely that it's to do with this third-party projects and the fact that she, much like Paige, did not want to cease using these third-party programs. And very sad news. It's a very strange battle for WWE to decide to have. We've give our opinion on the whole independent contractor thought. I know some people are sorry guys, in support of WWE, but it's like people are always looking at it. Not to pull away from Zelina, but people are always looking at this like, oh, they paid millions, like, so why are they even moaning? But it's like they're not. Like the ones who are paid like literal millions or close to, are the ones who aren't moaning. Have you seen AJ Styles getting up in arms and wanting to unionize and not wanting to stop his third-party channels? No, because he's making a mint. Not everyone in WWE makes a mint. So, we've got to look at the smaller fish. And Zelina is by no means one of the smaller fish, but look at the smaller, more green talents who aren't really that big in WWE. And they're looking for avenues to make money on the side. And WWE are going, no, fuck you. A blanket fuck you to everyone. That's not good.
I think as well, obviously, they are independent contractors by all accounts, and therefore, a lot of the time they're like pay as you play. And if you think about it, there's no live events anymore, so they've lost a shit ton of income from that. They can't tour anymore, so they're featured every week, every other week, every couple of weeks in some cases.
But this is the funny thing, because a lot of people don't consider that as well. Like, we can't really truly see one of their contracts, so I can't go into the ins and outs of it. But we know from previous reports and previous information that people have given out, they get some sort of flat rate. But as you mentioned, they get paid per match as well, per appearance, and they've all gone, all those per thing, and that's probably where they'll make most of their money. It's insane, Carl.
Bloody mental.
So, I mean, let's do what everyone will do. Do you think we're going to see her in AEW, Carl?
I mean, I would love to see her in AEW. I mean, for me, this is mental on WWE's part. Like, I get it, the tightening all the restrictions and whatever on blah 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 blah. But don't get me wrong, I've been covering Raw as part of this show for months now, and there was a good portion where Zelina Vega was she was Raw. Oh, yeah. Like, literally, her, Andrade Garza, all that kind of shit that was going on. That was the main focus.
Until WWE's creative inevitably killed it, it was probably the best thing there, like you say. It's unfortunate they went the directions they did and sort of randomly had Austin Theory, then not have Austin Theory and so on. But she was always the best thing in that stable as well. She's undeniably talented. And yeah, you could probably criticize her in ring work, but she's definitely got something in the business. She can hold herself in the ring, but her mic skills are obviously significantly better than her ring skills. Like, she could easily have a home in AEW, and AEW would be daft not to snatch her up. It seems illogical that WWE would do this at a time when AEW are definitely looking for women talent.
Yeah, it honestly, it is a crazy decision, and I think again it shows almost the short-sightedness of the WWE, because she's got a fucking massive Twitch following. She's kind of a cultural inspiration and icon to, you know, many different platforms and many different people out there. So it's not like, you know, they've just let someone go. Like they've made a pretty big error, in my opinion, because, you know, fair dues, the stuff with Andrade and Garza and stuff had come to an end. But like, we're talking like literally a week or two ago, she was fighting Asuka for the fucking women's title.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, do you know what? This is the weird thing, because it seems like WWE were really big on her at one point, to the point that, and I don't know how much involvement they had, but she played AJ Lee in Fighting With My Family.
Exactly.
Film credit because of them. So it's like they were obviously really big on it. Yeah, it's baffling. Absolutely baffling.
I think it's crazy, but I think to answer your question, you know, 100% I can see it going to AEW because, you know, they've already made it very clear that they are very open to encouraging people, you know, the stuff that we saw with you know, Miro and Kip Sabian. Everybody backs. I always forget his name. I don't mean to, but yeah, like obviously the stuff they did with them with the skits and stuff, like yeah, you can watch me on Twitch, and like, yeah, I don't know, I think she'd be perfect in there, to be honest.
Annoyingly, like, and I do say annoyingly because I don't want either company to fail, but this is just it's an open fucking goal for AEW.
Yeah.
WWE pulling a move like this, all AEW have to do is support it. They don't even have to say anything big, but like doing skits like that, you know, show that they clearly support them doing third party work and building themselves in their own way, and that's what a lot of people are wanting.
Well, that's it. You know, she apparently went onto a Twitch stream shortly after that news came out, and you know, she was very visibly upset and stuff by it. But at the same time, she, you know, she wasn't like too sad. She was just like, she's upset more for the fact that all she ever wanted is to be a pro wrestler, and she got to do that in WWE, which, you know, is the echelon of pro wrestling. And you know, unfortunately, due to silly things that you know, silly opinions that they have at the minute around this kind of stuff, has seen her kind of lose her dream. But I think, you know, she's definitely going to get snapped up. You know, she's formerly from TNA. She was TNA before she was WWE, so she's got options, you know, as well.
Yeah.
But
to be honest, like I look at AEW, and it's not because I love AEW and we favor them. Like it's a logical option in the sense of, like, in terms of pay and freedom. Like she's still got that televised platform, that decent money. It's probably not the same as WWE, but still decent money. And she can do a third party stuff. All due respect to TNA, and they're a lot better than they have been in the past, and they are doing well. But they're not one of the big fish at the minute.
No,
I'm not even sure. Have they even got a TV deal at the moment?
I think they do. I can't really remember who it is with, but they have got some sort of deal at the minute. But yeah, I don't know. I just think I think it's going to be a big win for AEW because, as I mentioned, you know, if they do get her, then she's got that audience who, you know, enjoy cosplay, enjoy gaming, enjoy, you know, they might not be wrestling fans, but they're ZELINA fans. And, you know, if she's making a shitload of money on Twitch from what she does, she must have a hell of a following.
For the statement, and again, it might be incorrect, but certainly what I've read there, and I'll apologize now because it came from Meltzer, I think, that she's making like near enough the same amount of money on Twitch as she was with WWE. That shows you how big a following she must have.
Yeah,
bear in mind, you can watch Twitch for free. So these are people who are willingly going, yeah, let's give some money.
Well, yeah, crazy, honestly.
But
crazy.
You know what? It's upsetting news, but I imagine her boyfriend would be quite upset about it. And how do you think her boyfriend's reacted to
this? It's a hell of a segue. I think he's a husband now, actually. But I'll take it.
Apologies.
Anyway. You know, you tee it up, and I'll hopefully smash it out. But yeah, so interestingly, around the time this was all going on, so Aleister Black, who is the real life husband of ZELINA VEGA, had recently requested.
We're serious. That's not a joke.
No, I don't know how. But you know, fair play to the guy, Godspeed, and all that. Gives, you know, gives people some hope, I guess. But she basically, around the time that this was coming out around ZELINA, Aleister had also requested and been denied a return to NXT. So there's quite a few sources close to this who've kind of come out and said that, you know, there's quite a bit more behind the scenes around the whole ZELINA VEGA thing. Apparently there's frustration on multiple sides around everything that's gone on. And, you know, while it can't be directly linked to ZELINA's, you know, kind of release, it's worth noting that Aleister Black had recently requested his move back to NXT, but was denied. So, you know, dissension amongst the parties, apparently.
Now, I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to give Aleister Black all the credit in the world, right? It's because I've never seen you in NXT, Aleister, but I've not been big on you on the main roster. But the fact that you've turned around and gone, okay, they've got rid of me cool music, they've got rid of my semi-cool, attitude and attire. I'm now dressed like some sort of S&M pirate. I've had enough of this. I can appreciate that, and it shows that you're just as frustrated with the character work and the creativity as we were. So fair play to you, man.
No, definitely. I think Alistair was definitely a much better character and was a lot more over in NXT, which we've seen with quite a few guys. To be honest, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, even Keith Lee, it's not been bad, but it's been so lackluster considering what he was in NXT. It's unreal how and they haven't even. I don't even think they've actively tried to ruin him. It's just happened.
Yeah,
What's with the main roster?
I think it's crazy how night and day it is. Obviously, Triple H is running the whole NXT thing, and when Vince is kind of like, "What guys have you got that I can bring up and be fresh or whatever?"
Vince is just like the schoolyard bully, isn't he?
Pretty much
struts on over, takes all the good bits of your lunch.
In the Keith Lee comparison, apparently when he got called up, he was like, "Oh, you need to shave, and you're not going out in that ring attire," and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And you just do it, don't you, because you want to get on TV. So I don't know why, but yeah, it seems so crazy how you can be so different from NXT to the main roster. But yeah, again, to echo you, I think fair play to Alistair, because he obviously wanted to go back to NXT and to kind of get his character back. And because, I mean, let's be honest, he has the stuff he's done on the main roster has been shit, hasn't it? And I've called him every week.
Exactly. Well, I always try and stress we criticize the characters. We have nothing against the people, but I've never had anything nice to say about Black because I've never seen him in NXT, so I couldn't even go back to that. Like, oh, wasn't that awesome? It's a shame not doing that. All I had was the example that I saw on Raw for the most, and I didn't get it.
No.
And then they kept changing it to the point that it's unrecognizable now, and it is awful. But yeah, to me, this just echoes they're seeing the same. Like, they want to build their own characters quite clearly, and then they're having to wade through this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
unreal, man.
Unreal. But speaking of unreal, Anthony, why don't you tell us about a recent debut on SmackDown and the unfortunate events?
This is unfortunate, and this will be detailed on the SmackDown this week in wrestling. But basically, we saw a fatal four-way match between the women, obviously, to decide who would enter into the Survivor Series team representing SmackDown. So naturally, Natalya was in there, but I'll moan about that later. But surprisingly, we saw a main roster debut from one Chelsea Green, who we've not seen in a long time. So this seemed like great news. Awesome. What a debut. And yeah, I was pumped for it. And then later on, and to be fair, there was a suggestion that she may have hurt herself, but you don't know whether it was a work or not. But later on, she put a tweet out there in a hospital bed, thumbs up, unenthusiastic thumbs up, saying basically that I'll paraphrase, but she's broke her wrist, which, funnily enough, was the injury she was out with previously. So that is incredibly unfortunate. So she's been sidelined again, unfortunately, and that's basically all this news article is. Her debut match has led to an injury, and now she's sidelined for I don't know how long. She was out for months with the first broken wrist, so I imagine it's going to be a similar thing. And you know what? Again, not someone I got to see a lot of in NXT, but I did see a fair bit of it before her injury. And you know what? She's definitely talented, and I think the main roster push would have been great. It would have been great for SmackDown. I moaned last week a lot about the fact that their women's roster is a bit shocking now, especially after Carl and the Raw team come along and pillaged everything. So I was made up to see her, and it's a crying shame, and it leads me to wonder, not to sort of segue away from the injury, but it leads me to wonder, are they going to try and call up anyone else as a replacement to that?
I mean, for me, this kind of came out of nowhere. Like, there'd been rumours for ages, especially around draft time, that we were going to see Chelsea Green get drafted, that it was going to be and we just didn't see it, and we saw nothing. And then to randomly just be like, oh, well, okay, I'm on SmackDown, and I'm going to be, coming for the Survivor Series slot, just felt so weird to me. And I've kind of got two parts of this. On the one hand, obviously she's dating Zack Ryder, or Matt Cardona, as he's known now in real life. And yeah, you know, he kind of posted a message on Instagram that was just, you know, it was so heartfelt and just said like he's seen her go through so much, so many false promises of like being called up. There's a point where she was even called up to Raw, but it was taped and they decided to cut it last minute.
Yeah,
Like
I didn't know about that. That was
she has
surprising.
had some like, you know, like a hell of a journey. You know, you mentioned before she's
It has been a
broken her
bit
wrist
roller coaster,
previously,
hasn't it? Yeah.
and you know, to get that same injury again, like it is such a shame. And I, you know, I don't want to like spend too much of the news article talking about this, but I've got that on the one hand, and I've got the other part of like, well, what was originally intended to happen? Like, was she gonna like? Because if they introduce her in this segment and she's not gonna win, that seems a bit stupid. But at the same time, does that mean, you know, Liv Morgan wasn't going to win? So like, what would have like?
I'll say this, right, and
Mm.
I'm not saying this is the right move, but this is something WWE would do. They would introduce her in a fatal four-way, thinking that taking that loss in the fatal four-way won't damage her. That's what they'll do. So I think Liv was always going to win. I think they were just like, well, you know, Chelsea won't eat the pin, so we've debuted her, but she hasn't like lost, you know. Seems like a WWE move through and through, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just, you know, on the one hand, you know, such a shame, I think, for her, especially, and, you know, hopefully it's a really speedy recovery. She's had this before. Don't know how long she was out last time, but I hope she does come back stronger.
That's the thing, yeah.
And we do get to see her on the main roster again, because I hope she doesn't get tarnished, you know, with that brush of like, she's too injury prone, so we're not going to call her back up or anything like that.
Sadly. And that's not us speculating that that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
But no, we do wish her a speedy recovery, and we definitely want to see her on the main roster. So hopefully that does come to fruition down the line.
Yeah, definitely. So Anthony, another one. We spoke about this last week in some context, but last week we kind of revealed that Savio Vega was going to be making an appearance at Survivor Series as part of the Undertaker's farewell, and we've now had some news that there's going to be some more WWE superstars making an appearance at Survivor Series, and those names have been revealed to be Kane. Obviously, would make sense, the whole
Logical.
Brothers of Destruction thing, as well as the Godfather and also Rikishi. Now, the last two may be like, well, what? That doesn't really make much sense.
The Godfather one, I think you touched on last week, didn't you? Because wasn't he part of the Bone Street crew?
Yeah, so it was Savio Vega last week. I knew that Godfather was also part of that, but I don't think anything had been officially revealed by that point. But I think we now know Godfather definitely. But then also Rikishi has also been speculated now to also be appearing at Survivor Series, and he was another member of the kind of faction, if you will. So
see, now, when you said Rikishi, my head went straight to Roman Reigns and what's going on with Roman Reigns.
Okay.
So we know he's back. It might not necessarily be for Taker. That's all I'm saying.
Damn, shit just got real. Speculation, yo. I'll never try and be hip and cool or down to earth ever again. But yeah, like, who knows? Maybe that is the reason. But yeah, I think the speculation is something to do with Undertaker at Survivor Series. I have no idea what they really got planned. You know, it's apparently his final farewell, and he's said that he's definitely.
It's a big group hug.
Well, they're all just going to sit in the ring and get another matching tattoo, because this time it's just going to be like Undertaker's like face or something. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm interested.
30 they're getting them.
Like, I hope it's not just something like Undertaker gets in the ring and they're all just stood there at ringside and everyone's just clapping him, and like it's that. Like, I hope it's some sort of segment. But you know, either way,
you want them to give him the clap.
What kind of show is this? I thought it was PG-13. But yeah, I mean,
Survivor Series is not.
As someone who's a fan of the Attitude Era, you know, a clap storyline would make sense. No, but as someone who's a fan of the Attitude Era, you know, I definitely want to see, you know, these guys do something like together and stuff if they are part of the the BSK. So yeah,
the big scary. Oh no.
wasn't exactly the click, was it? Like that one kind of sounds a bit better, but you know, yeah, that one clicked. But no, I am excited. It's good to see you know, these guys being linked with some sort of returns. I'm always a big fan of, you know, the oldies coming back and getting to see them again. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
But you know, when you say big fan of the oldies coming back, you don't want Goldberg though.
Oh no, fuck that.
No. Let's not have that. Not that again. Anyway, so speaking of wrestlers,
Love it.
Next one
Love
I've got is a statement from the Screen Actors Guild. Now, I know that's a bigger title, but I'm not going to try and do the other bit. So the Screen Actors Guild, Carl. So what we've got, and this has been suggested many a time in the past, that essentially wrestling is just as much theatrics as it is a sport, and that they should be recognised as actors in a way and be able to be part of the Screen Actors Guild and have the same protections and unionisation as actors would. Now, as a result of what happened with Zelina Vega, in a direct response to what happened with Zelina Vega, they're what is she? She has a title. I'll tell you that much. She's definitely got a title. The president, President Gabrielle, has issued a statement.
Oh, I thought Biden won. Shit. Okay.
And basically what she said is that wrestling is as much about media as it is sports. Essentially what I've said, but, sounds better. And we are going to directly engage with members of this profession to help find ways for them to protect themselves. She said, as more people reinvest in unions and as more working people are harassed by employers, who don't want to protect them, the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG-AFTRA, is committed to doing what we can to help professional wrestlers secure the protections they deserve. So, very early doors, and we'll be keeping an eye on how this goes, but a bold statement, and basically someone stepping up to the plate to go, no, they're being sort of treated like shit, basically, and someone needs to do something. Obviously, we've got Biden in now, and as we know, if Trump wasn't re-elected, they were going to be looking at the whole concept of independent contractors, apparently, anyway. Let's see if that comes off. Was it Andrew Yang who made that statement?
Yeah.
So, again, strange battle for Vince to pick, to be honest, making this, because whether it's a stupid move or not, it was a bold statement with Zelina, and it's triggered a response like this. So it makes you wonder whether it's a battle he's willing to have, or whether he's bit off more than he can chew. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like all the old remnants of the wrestling business is dying off now, and the last thing to go is the whole independent contractor thing. Like, it should just be they are employees, and don't get me wrong as well, like, people shit on this way more than maybe they need to, and I'm an advocate for them getting kind of employer status and all that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong, but Vince looks after them, and he looks after anyone who's ever worked for him. There's been guys who have screwed him over, and he's paid for their rehab, he's done everything for them, so you can't slight the guy too much. Because,
to be fair, no, I will give you that. Like, I think there was an innocent concept behind it all, of going like, oh, you don't need medical care because I'll cover your medical bills. Certain things I genuinely think he meant, but it's hard not to have a bias when you take a dislike to someone. Like,
yeah.
And I know what you're saying. He's definitely looked after people, and he seems to, I'll give him his due, he seems to be professional. He will have a business relationship with people who have screwed him over. He's mended bridges with Bret Hart, one who never was going to speak to him ever again. Do you know what I mean? So he's willing to be professional about things. But then when you hear stories, and I know what you're going to think in reaction to when I say this, but when you hear stories from the likes of CM Punk, who cited a lot of their medical negligence from their medical experts, it's that kind of loose approach, isn't it? When there's no regulation or anything in place, and it is just Vince going, yeah, I'll sort the bills, don't worry about it. Is it a lot less safe because of that, even with the best intention in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of alluded to it previously. Wrestling is like carny country. It is like just a bunch of carnies who, that's what wrestling was, and that is what it still is today. They can put as many walls up as they want to make out like it isn't, but it is. And they have made some good steps in the right direction. But something like independent contractors and just like, I'll sort you out when you need sorting out and stuff. That's just the wrestling business, But I think it needs to change, absolutely. But I just think at the same time, I don't know. There's people who are massive advocates for the change, which I also am. A lot of them are kind of just like, oh, they haven't got this or they haven't got that, and I think, to be fair to Vince, he always looks after people. So I think you've got to take that into account. But it's going to be a welcome change. I hope it happens. Whether or not it's via them going to the SAG, or whether they just change the whole contractual thing.
I mean, personally, I couldn't see them actually being part of the SAG. I think something's going to come of it, and I'm sure that they're going to offer their support and whatever they can. But I'd be very surprised if they end up being part of it, like card carrier members or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of union crops up from all of this, specifically for the wrestling industry.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting kind of time because on the one hand, there's so many calls for them to unionize and to put all the right practices in place, and then they seem to be going the complete opposite direction with stopping people from having any extracurricular activities or third-party stuff.
It's insane. The thing is, though, and I sort of alluded to it before, like, it's a weird experience in WWE because when you're making millions, when you're making money, it's not a big problem to you, is it? It's like, yeah, fucking own me. It's fine. John Cena is very much, I'm owned by WWE. He doesn't even care. Why? Because he's a fucking millionaire. You got plenty of people who are on the top who it doesn't bother. So it's hard to unionize everyone when some of them are sat there on a pile of cash. Like, I'm fine. It's all good. It's going to be a strange few months, really, seeing who comes or who becomes part of this. Assuming it gets ahead of steam and it becomes this whole sort of big fight and people are joining the side of support and unionization and such.
Well, like, you've heard all the kind of stories around like the locker room and the new locker room leaders like Roman Reigns and stuff who don't instill the old kind of stuff like wrestlers' courts on a thing anymore. The ribbing has died down significantly.
I saw Otis go to wrestlers' court. Don't you lie to me?
No, that was court. JBL's a judge now.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah,
it was real. It was real to me, damn it.
Judge John Mayfield.
Don't give them ideas. That's going to be a WWE network anytime soon. But you can get for $9.99. No. But Anthony, so we talk around this whole kind of stigma against people, the likes of Zelina Vega, who has just been released due to her desire to, have like a Twitch channel or any kind of third party kind of
freedom, a voice of her own.
Or freedom, yes. But apparently, Anthony, this doesn't apply to everybody because, quite interestingly, the likes of a Bruce Pritchard, who is the head writer or the executive director, I think he's still off both Raw and SmackDown. I don't think they've made the change yet.
We heard Shane was taking over Raw, but I don't think it's happened yet.
No, we've heard some rumours, but obviously Bruce is currently looking after both Raw and SmackDown. But he also has his own podcast. We've got something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard,
Bruce,
which you can find on all your major podcast streaming services. But ours is better.
And if you're wondering where he is, he'll be just underneath ours.
Yeah, that's it. But no, so I mean, interesting really, because why do the rules not apply to the likes of a executive director? But they
come on, Carl. Bruce Pritchard is an independent contractor. You can't do that.
I mean, I don't know. Like, is he? I don't know. Like,
this guy is a full-on employee.
You never know. Like, is anyone a full-on employee in WWE? You never know this at all. Someone's just sat there on minimum wage in admin, and they stump the toe, and it's like, well, you're an independent contractor, kid. You're fired. It's like, okay. So you never know.
Wait a minute. That's my pen. He's such an asshole. Sorry, come on.
Well, friend of the show, Dave Meltzer. Hi, Dave. So he's weighed in on this on the the Wrestling Observer newsletter, noting that before he signed his contract extension, Pritchard made it very clear that he wanted to keep his podcast going, and Vince reportedly agreed so long as Pritchard doesn't discuss the current WWE product on his podcast. Okay, so
Vince agreed as long as people continue not to listen to it.
Well, exactly. There's a clause in there that says as long as A to the K is beating you in the ratings, it's fine. So
that's it. Don't listen to us because you want to. Listen to us to support Bruce.
Exactly. Help him out. Okay. Help him out, guys. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like, is ZELINA spending all of her time on her personal Twitch talking about WWE? I don't think so. Like, to be fair, like AJ Styles mentions WWE more than anyone who's got a Twitch channel.
Didn't he openly mention about being unhappy about the Good Brothers leaving as well?
Exactly. So yeah, so I mean, it's Vince, isn't it? Like someone's probably told him, well, this AJ Styles guy mentioned this, and he's like, oh, we can't have that anymore, and then he just kills all of it because that's what he's like. But
right, I'm going to call this now. I'm going to give it 3 weeks. 3 weeks, Carl. 3 ringside reports. The third one, we're going to be reporting that WWE has bought Twitch. Where are they going to run to then, Carl?
What was that? What was that thing that you were back into? That was it fucking Periscope or something? Remember they had some shitty like streaming service, and it was just like WWE were like the only ones on it, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go live to such and such on Periscope," and it was like, "Okay, yeah." So they're probably just pissed off that the fact that they invested in Periscope and Twitch.
It's almost like a group of old men. I've got no idea how the internet really works.
I know, right? But yeah, so very conflicting opinions on what talent can or can't do any extracurricular activities outside of the
not even just opinions, very conflicting decisions.
Yes, literal decisions, because the director of Raw and SmackDown is flapping his gums.
And the reality of it is, Bruce, if you're listening, it turns out you could probably have an OnlyFans if you wanted to. Please don't, but you could.
I don't want it. Oh no, Anthony, what have you done? There's going to be
images in your head.
It's going to be brother love, like love-ins, just constantly. It's going to be terrible. Terrible. I'm going to subscribe, but it's going to be terrible.
I love wrestling just too damn much not to, but
it's almost like WWE is the kingdom of wrestling. Anyway, speaking of wrestling kingdoms,
love it. It's just this segues are just getting better and better. The more we drink, the better they're getting. It's weird, isn't it? So, as a lot of you may know, Kenny Omega is set to face Jon Moxley on the 2nd of December at, is it just another Dynamite? Revolution? No, Revolution's February. Is just another
Dynamite? I think that's what they're going with. Just another Dynamite.
He's set to face Jon Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And then it's heavily speculated that John's going to take a little bit of time off. Why is he taking a little bit of time off? Because he needs to fly to Japan. Why does he need to fly to Japan, you ask? Because he is going to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom 15. Or maybe he isn't, who knows. But basically, this is the heavy speculation that John still has some sort of relationship, contract, agreement, whatever, with New Japan. He is scheduled and is still the United States champion for them. New Japan's United States champion. So he is scheduled to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom 15, which all made a lot of sense. And then it made you go, is Kenny going to win then? But then we had also the turnaround from, I think, Meltzer again, saying that no, Tony's not aware of anything. As far as he's aware, John's not taking any time off in December. Maybe not. So there it is. Nice big question mark for you, Carl. Jon Moxley may or may not be in Japan in December, maybe.
Wow, so clear.
So clear as mud. But basically the idea being that he leaves after Dynamite 2nd of December because he needs to be able to do it. He would need to go to Japan and self-isolate essentially for 2 weeks before Wrestle Kingdom. So he needs that time. It's not even just a case of having a bit of a jaunt out there. He needs that time to be able to be cleared to actually have the match.
Yeah.
But hey ho.
I mean, again, it's a Meltzer thing, isn't it? So
it's a Meltzer thing.
It's a Meltzer thing. I don't know, like obviously as soon as you hear Moxley's going to take time off after his fucking title match with Omega, you go, so Omega's winning then, right?
Straight away.
Straight away, where you go. And then, so Meltzer.
It's almost like when they said the Young Bucks are going to like never challenge again if they lose, and you go, oh, they got to win then.
Well, exactly. So I don't know, like, are they trying to now go, oh shit, well that's leaked out. I know. Dave, you're a reliable source of wrestling information.
No, I'm not doing anything with my fingers, Dave.
No. So maybe we can get you to say that we know nothing about this, so that we're not giving away the finish to the match. So there's that aspect of it as well. But at the same time, it's 2 weeks, so you don't have to be like, well, he's going to lose the belt. It could just be that he has an injury or something. You know what I mean? A
couple of Dynamites, it's not a problem.
2 weeks, literally 2 weeks. And
fuck it up.
just
WWE, When Brock had the title in WWE, we never saw it for like 6 months.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. For me, we'll probably come onto it a little bit when we talk about Dynamite, but I was surprised that they made the decision to have this just another Dynamite because, the build to this, and we've spoken quite a bit around the lack of build on previous things. For me, this could have been built for a while, kind of like, Kenny's becoming the cleaner, the fucking best bout machine, whatever the fuck he's called, all this kind of stuff again, and Moxie's only ever beaten him in a hardcore match. They've never had a pure wrestling match. Omega's clearly the favorite. They could have done this for so long, and it's like, it's coming up in a week or two. So it's like, oh, okay.
See, and I don't know if it's I'm almost squeamish of long builds because of WWE, but I'm like, I don't know, is it a good thing? The next pay-per-view's February, we know it is. So could we have built this all the way up to February, or would that have just soured it all? And, I look at WWE sometimes and go, for fuck's sake, can we just end Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins now, please? Please.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, AEW have done some fantastic storytelling over a long period of time. The whole, elite implosion that happened and stuff, that is over a super long period. Like the whole Kenny Hangman thing, even though I was like, oh, it didn't get built up and it was just a tournament. When you think about it, they did build it up over quite a few months.
I think the problem really, because you're right, they built it up over a few months. I think the problem really with that is that it didn't reach a fever point before the match. I think that's what it was. It needed to not just we saw their friendship dissolve. It needed to build, the animosity needed to build, and I think that's what was missing there. But you're quite right, they did do it over a few months.
Yeah.
But no, we're not going to fuck around. We're going to have a new AEW champ for Christmas.
All I want for Christmas is best bout machine cleaner, Kenny Omega, new champ.
That guy
just rolls off the tongue.
It does. It's just so seamless, and maybe some of the AEW figures that are never in this country. Tony, sorry, you own a football club over here, man. Give us some figures.
Yeah, give us some figures. And speaking of figures, Anthony, sticking with the AEW talk. So obviously one performer, and it's a superstar then, and I was like, why would I call him a superstar?
Because you're part of Retribution now.
One performer. Sorry, I'm just hacking into the women's cameras. Yeah. Ali, stop it. Sorry, Mom. Anyway, so a guy that we haven't seen recently on Dynamite is none other than Brody Lee, who, he was getting rave reviews from the pair of us ahead of, obviously, his TNT title loss to Cody Rhodes. I can call him Cody Rhodes now. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
So we've not seen Brody Lee since then, basically. And, the question kind of came up is, well, why? Why have we not seen him? And apparently he could be injured. So there is speculation again from...
That's all I'm going to... Yeah, he's big and scary, but he could be injured.
He could be injured. And obviously the guy with all the knowledge in the world, who we believe to be completely gospel with what he says, Dave Meltzer, has also weighed in on this one as well. He gets around, Dave, doesn't he? He's a busy man.
He's on the dirt sheets all over the place, man.
He is. But
wrestling news, he's making it up for you. I mean,
that's it. He's
finding those facts for you.
He's gone, no Brody Lee for a while? What put injury? Yeah. No, so apparently...
it's like he's got a coin. Dead or injury?
I just think that every time he says anything, he's like a fucking really shitty tarot reader, isn't he? He's just kind of like, anyone in the room, anyone... Ben, Bron, Brody Lee, ankle. Yes. Has he got ankles? He has got ankles. Okay, maybe they're injured. That's what they're telling me.
Got a voice from over this side of the room.
No, that's just the Dark Order. But yeah, so apparently,
this just in from Dave Meltzer. Dark Order suffer with arthritis.
I mean, we're going to get that. They dropped the Ali hacker gimmick because of Ali having arthritis in his hands, and that's why he does this, because he can't fix his hand. He's just in excruciating pain. But yeah, so apparently he's noted that Brody Lee's injury was a possible ankle injury. So in other words, he's got no fucking idea. He could be out injured. We don't really know. But yeah, we haven't really seen him since the dog collar match that he had with Cody. And so, yeah, I don't actually know where he is. I don't think anyone knows where he is. But hopefully,
But
he's not actually
AEW
injured.
releasing their Where's Brody book pretty soon.
I would buy the shit out of that. You know,
It's like 6 foot odds. He's there. He's
like,
right there.
That would be the best way to do it, wouldn't it? It's just like everyone's just tiny and he's just like stood out like this. That would be the way to do it. But yeah, so is Brody Lee injured? No one
Maybe.
knows. Possibly. Ask Uncle Dave. So yeah, that's my one, Anthony.
Right, well, here's one for you, Carl. It has been reported that
It's not melted
stars... I'm going to have a look. It might be melted again. Let's see who reported this. We're okay. It's not melted. It's some other place that I've not heard of. Anyway, so apparently, Carl, AEW stars. I want to talk on the big stars. We're talking like your people on Dark or your people lower card, mid card maybe on Dynamite. Contractually are on better deals than most of the talent in NXT. Now, bearing in mind this works, almost individually wrestler to wrestler. So there are a few exceptions to that. Shit, it was Meltzer. Damn it. But citing one exemption or one example, one exemption to that rule being the Benjamin Carter as on a somewhat different deal to most. But what they're suggesting is that NXT, and we were actually given a bit of detail on the NXT deals, saying that they offer their stars, this is a general idea, $60,000 annually, with $500 bonus for every episode they appear in on NXT. And this could be increased, based on performance, etc. And what they're saying is that's what NXT are offering as a broad guide. And AEW are doing better than that. Even if you're on the likes of Dark and stuff like that, generally you fare better money-wise in AEW, and that is before you start looking at the actual ability to do third-party things.
Interesting.
An interesting one. Now, I think this is it's a good one to raise in terms of this whole unionization stuff and this whole talk of third parties. When you go, well, these people are all right. They've signed the contract. You can look at it like I signed a contract that said I have to give my soul to Vince. Fine, but it just shows you that like when it comes to not being the top tier in WWE aren't technically the best bet. Do you hang on in there to get to the top tier or what? I don't know.
I kind of feel at this point, the movie The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
I
imagine Vince's business card is like, I'm Vince McMahon, and you get the fucking super magnifying glass, and it's like the fucking iTunes terms and conditions, and it just basically says, I own everything about you.
That's it. We're going to find out there was never a contract. Here's a cap. I mean, by accepting this cap, you agree to, damn it.
What have I done? Yeah, I mean...
Why they all wear them. That's why they all...
I mean, I don't know. We've had a lot of speculation around AEW and going there for the money and like Tony Khan, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, 60K does sound... I know it's their development territory and whatever, but 60K does sound a bit like on the shorter side, I guess, for what it is that they do. So that is true.
It's a good wage, but when you consider you're putting your body on the line regularly for a wage, that's pretty comparable to most normal jobs.
Well,
bearing in mind the exchange rate as well, because it sounds really good British-wise, but in America, not so much. Okay. Your appearances are very sporadic, so you can't rely on that. So the thing you can rely on is that 60K.
Yeah, I think as well, like you got to take a pinch of salt because the same people get paid better in AEW, but I assume that's only once they are all elite and confirmed. Like
that's the thing. The trouble is, like the people. You could. I suppose you might be able to make an argument pound for pound. Like the people who are regularly appearing on Dark, they're getting paid sort of per match appearance wise, and that stacks up better. But then it's a lot more unreliable. So you could argue that maybe the match for match they're making more money, but they never know what match they're going to get or how many they're going to get or whichever. So I imagine it is when you're all elite. The likes of like one of our favourites, Griff Garrison, who is currently not All Elite, would be getting paid as per appearance.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we're there for you, Griff. In a year's time, when you're All Elite and you're the TNT champion, we're going to be here saying that we called that. We called that.
Yeah. You said that on our show. That was your dream, and we will do everything we can in our power, even if it means me and Anthony doing a run-in to get you that belt.
Making some sort of T-shirt that expresses our interest in Griff Garrison becoming TNT champion.
I love that. It's gone from making a run-in to actually helping win the belt to maybe we'll put it on a T-shirt that no one will buy. But
or maybe we'll click like on some things. I'm not overly committed, but we'll do one of those 3 things.
Yeah, maybe. We've only ever said maybe to any of them. We might possibly are we Dave Meltzer now? Maybe possibly something will happen at some point in the future.
Yeah. So I'm gonna come on later by myself and then be like, "Is Carl injured?"
Maybe. So Anthony, the final one, unless there's any
final
more.
one. No, let's talk about this.
Countdown. So it's another AEW one, and it was something that I stayed up for. I stayed
You
up.
big nerd.
I know, right? It's almost like I'm not a 32-year-old guy with a job, but I stayed up to watch the big reveal of AEW Games. We spoke about it last week, that this was coming, the big event, and so 2 things. So firstly, I feel really bad for the guys because not only did the website get hacked and all of the information get leaked ahead of time, but they also ended up having to delay the announcements by like an hour and 15 minutes or something. So I was just like, for fuck's sake, I don't want to see what's going on. That being said, I think wholeheartedly it was worth the wait because I think the way they did it was, typical AEW style. They had Kenny Omega there, they had Britt Baker, they had Aubrey Edwards, and they had Cody Rhodes come out as well.
Clearly poking a little bit of fun at Steve Jobs as well, which is
100%. They basically mimicked the Apple style of conference. They all had the blue jeans and the black turtleneck. Typical Steve Jobs attire. And I thought it was great. I thought they did a fantastic job. But the big announcements were basically that there are multiple games coming out. So we have a mobile first general manager style game where you can take control of AEW and you can book the show and so on and so forth.
Tony just sits there behind the scenes stealing it.
Well, we mentioned it might have been on the last Whiskey and Wrestling actually. So again, funny parallels, but I mentioned my intrigue with the Total Extreme Wrestling or Extreme Wrestling like Revenge or whatever the fuck it was called back in the day. My involvement in working with Adam Ryland on trying to do stuff with that and so on and so forth in the past. And so obviously I'm quite a big fan of these kind of managerial games. I had Total Extreme Wrestling a couple of years ago and played that quite a bit. Also the MMA version as well. So I am quite keen to, explore this. If it's a free game, I don't think they've announced it, then I'll definitely get it.
Freemium?
Well, is it going to be freemium? Probably. You start out with 3 fucking members of the roster or something.
It's like you can make 3 decisions a day. Buy more decisions with cash.
I mean, yeah, I can see that happening. But
emulate the real AEW and solve your problems with cash, just like Tony Khan.
Love it.
I don't even know why I'm picking on him. I love AEW.
I think that's the best bit. Just like you're just like, fuck you, Tony Khan. Vince is at it now. You're getting it too.
It's because he wouldn't come on the podcast.
Exactly. Fuck you, Tony.
We haven't asked him, but Vince would come on it.
Do you know what? I've asked him before. I even asked him once while after a little bit of the bubbly. We did our own version of that, but for whiskey. I even said to him "Can I write for your show? I've got good ideas, man." And then just
nothing
left on unread.
Fools, you fools. Maybe I don't know.
Anyway, I digress. So AEW Games announcement.
That's what we do best. Our whole segment this week is about digressing.
Well, the funny thing is, we've got a interview with Tony in 45 minutes, and we haven't even finished this segment, so we're going to have to fucking fly through this week in wrestling. So be prepared for that, guys. But yeah, so short and sweet.
Shit, it's like Busta Rhymes did this week.
They have announced 2 games, general manager game for mobile, and they've also announced the much anticipated console game And the big surprise is that it's being developed by Ukes. So
Now,
fucking fantastic.
I can hear your pace increasing because we want to get through this week in wrestling, which is unrealistically not going to happen. Anyway, I do need to ask though, what do you make of because a lot of the shit it's been getting has been the quality of the graphics. Now they have mentioned that this is still being developed, but it's got a much more cartoony feel. How do you feel about that?
Do you know what I think is weird? Like Kenny Omega looked over the top, jacked as fuck. Like his pecs had like muscles where there aren't even muscles. Like it was something out of what's that?
Like Street Fighter.
Yeah, like WWE. Well, yeah, Street Fighter is a fantastic example, in fact. But I think WWE did a version of it with one of their games.
Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds, yeah. So it's very over the top. But then you look at Jericho, and he's just full on dad bod, and it's like,
well, this is like it's kind of like SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain quality.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like I don't care about graphics that much. I'm going to probably
as long as I want a return to form. If they make a game that quality-wise is like the old SmackDown games I loved and played, then I'm on board. I'm there.
Yeah.
Like
agreed.
WWE tried to test out what is going. People don't really care about the graphics, but they also made a shit game with 2K20.
Yeah. Like for me, you can tell like who they are and whatever. So that is enough for me. Like I'm not like one of these people who's like, it's got to look, I want to see sweat beads in 4K, and I honestly couldn't give a fuck, right? But for me, like Kenny Omega looks over the top, muscly, like one level, and Chris Jericho looks like true to himself, dad bod style. So if they do refine Kenny to make him look less fucking whatever the fuck that is going on with him, then yeah, I think it's fine. To be fair, I don't care about the graphics. I care about the gameplay, and I'm really glad that Ukes on board because
I love Ukes. Every game, people. This is another thing. People are like, "Oh yeah, you all slammed Ukes when they were doing the SmackDown games." I didn't. I fucking loved
me neither. Me neither. I mean, to be honest, I should have researched this. I don't know whether Ukes had any involvement at all with the N64 games. And we've mentioned in the past that was the engine that people wanted.
If it helps, Carl, and this is purely from the top of my head, I'm given to understand that Ukes are the developer, but they've actually got the like one of the main guys from No Mercy involved.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think Ukes had anything to do with the N64 game No Mercy, which is originally or the inspiration, I suppose. But they have got one of the head guys from that game.
Okay, like for me, like I'm, we said at the top of the show we're old as balls, right? So for me,
there's a share coming. Check your merch stuff.
For me, like I want a game that I can pick up and play and just enjoy it. Like the SmackDown games. There he is. Look at this guy. He's fucking absolutely smashing it.
For those keeping count.
I think, in fairness, I may have been drinking the same one this whole time, but it was like a fucking...
I just want to show this to Carl because he saw the bottle before I started.
Okay, fair play, man. Fair play. This guy, I like it.
It's not a contest, guys.
It's not a contest. Down. But yeah, so, it's one of them. I could give a fuck about the graphics. I just want a game that is so enjoyable to play. It's not too like strategic. It's not too like, oh, what the fuck, what's this combination? I want to pick it up. I want to be able to do moves. I want to be able to hit a finish. Know super clear how I play the game and how I win. That's all you want from a game. And I feel like at the minute, like, I'll use FIFA as an example just as well as like WWE. It's so fucking hard to play that game now because they put too much into it. Games are meant to be fun. You're meant to pick it up, play it, enjoy it with your friends. Not
like trying to do a fatality in Mortal Kombat now.
Exactly. It's like combination. Yeah, I'm doing... It's like, well, why? Just make it fun. Anyone can pick it up and play it and enjoy it. So, yeah, for me, I was quite optimistic about it all, to be honest. Like, and I completely get the graphics thing because I looked at it and was like, But
I still think it's gonna look better than it did because they're still working on it. They even mentioned that, they're still working on it, and it still looked pretty damn good. So I'm cool with that. The only thing I wasn't overly bothered by, and I'm sure some people are, is the third one being the casino game. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I think they tried to appeal to multiple markets. I'm not really into that kind of game style. I'm sure
I think that's the thing. It's just not our cup of tea, sadly.
Yeah.
That's right. A very British thing to say.
Not our cup of tea.
My cup of tea. Twinings.
Right. Anyone who listens to this who is American, and we have 83% of our listeners are American.
That's true.
If you listen to this show and where they're saying, it's not our cup of tea, what's the American version of that?
Yeah.
Tell
Does
us.
that track? Yeah. Like,
Does that
what
make
is that?
sense? Like, what would you say?
Would you literally just swap it for a cup of Joe?
That's not our biscuits and gravy. Let us know. Let us fucking know.
Let us
Right.
know.
But yeah.
Hey, everybody. This is Thunder Rosa, and you're watching or listening A to the K.